Hold on, I'll put you back on the screen in a minute. Oh, you are live. Oh, welcome, 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 welcome back to the Transparency Place. It is me, Life Coach Kristian, and I am here tonight with some of my great male friends, and they're going to bring forth the male perspective about relationships, singleness, dating, marriage. We're going to talk about all of that tonight. Hope Hopefully, you all are joining us live. If not, you'll catch the audio playback. But it's going to be a good time, great conversation, and let's get to it. How are you all?
What's
Hello,
up?
hello.
Good, good.
Oh, that was real dead. The men are so dead compared to women.
Right.
Let's start with you, my man's to my right. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you?
You might just have to say names. I don't even know. Is that me? Is
Oh,
this
that's
wait,
you. It's you. It's you. How, introduce yourself. Who are you?
9 o'clock at night? I am Chris Collins. Uh, what else you want to know?
If that's all you got to bring to the table, Chris is
Chris
representing
Collins.
the married men tonight.
Yeah. So listen, I've been married for almost 5 years, or almost 6 years, 5.5, and yeah, it's been married my college sweetheart. That's the common thing. And
College sweetheart.
yeah,
How long have you all been together?
you mean like in
In
total?
in total, how long have you all been together?
You trying to get him in trouble? Come on now.
Listen,
I'm not. We need this type of conversation. We need this
No, no,
to.
no,
uh,
I was 2010, so 11 years.
All right. And who are you down at the
Three
bottom?
kids. We got 3 kids, 6, 3, and 1.5. So there'll be 6, 4, and 2 in a couple months.
All right. And who we got down here at the bottom?
I am Rebo Dunn. I'm guessing that I'm the single black man on on this podcast. So hello everyone from the single perspective.
From the single perspective, the male perspective, both of you are valuable to this conversation tonight. And to be honest with you, it's a conversation I've put off now for about 3 weeks because I struggled to find a single man and then just finding people that you're comfortable having the conversation with. And to be honest with you, Rebo, I had you in mind from jump. I just didn't want to pull on you. So I hit you today. So I appreciate you like I'm gonna do it. Sis, I'm ready. I'm ready for the conversation. I appreciate you being ready. And then Chris, I hit you 48 hours ago and I wasn't even ready myself for this conversation. When I came up with the idea, I was like, that would be really great for people to hear because we don't hear from men a lot. And as women, we wonder a lot and try to figure men out. But I think that's the value in us being men and women. We have to grow to learn each other. You all agree?
Most definitely. It's a whole journey.
Definitely.
And then most people say that once you get married, you can't speak to the single area. But I feel like because you've been single before, you can speak to that area. So, Chris, you're going to be able to bring both sides, the single and the married side, to the conversation tonight. So, y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Let's dive into it. Rebo, let's talk about your single experience. What's going on? Oh, Rebo done fell out. Rebo usually, man, he done did it again. The last time I brought Rebo on, we had tech difficulties. Well, all
You
right,
jinxed
Chris.
them.
I didn't jinx him. I didn't jinx him at all. Hopefully, he makes it back in. I told him to come over my house, but either way it go, let's dive into the conversation. Let's talk about your journey from single to married. Do you feel like there was any preparation that you had to do in order to get to being a husband?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, really, it's at figuring out if that's what you really want to commit to, and being able to work through all those challenges. I ain't no saint. Let me say that. Full disclosure. Um, you know what I'm saying, and it just is what it is at that point. Like you really just it's just a journey, and really once you decide to make that leap and make that step,
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole different kind of ball game.
So when you say challenges, can you give us an example of what you're talking about? What kind of challenges did you have to overcome to prepare for marriage?
Well, I think the obvious one is just selfishness. Um, you know, being on my own for so long, and then just having to kind of, I wouldn't answer to somebody, be accountable to somebody else. Yeah, that's the word. Be accountable to someone else, and pretty much every aspect of your life, from finances to everything, health, whatever. Like that was it's still something I'm fighting daily, like trying to get these demons apart. You know what I'm saying?
So still building that unity amongst you two, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. And it just don't stop. Like it's you gotta choose daily.
You have to choose daily. That is awesome to choose daily. So are you saying that you choose marriage daily or you choose your partner or you just both? I love the way you said that. What are you
Um,
choosing?
yeah, I mean, choosing to keep those vows, and when you feel like you're falling short in them, being able to talk about that and be vulnerable.
So Rebo, do you have the desire to be married?
Yes.
Okay. So in your have you had that desire for a
Great,
long
great
time?
answer, man. I love it.
I think that so with me, I'm an only child, and so by me being an only child, I always desire to have a family.
Okay.
And so, like, a lot of kids, they grow up wanting to be firefighters and police officers and stuff like that. I was the kid that loved family matters, my wife and kids and stuff like that, because I always envisioned myself as being a good father or just having a family because I didn't have that dynamic. And so I think that that's something I always wanted. So,
Mm. So right now you're in your singleness.
mhm.
Is there a particular reason why you're single? Just if you don't mind.
um, just because it's a transparency place. I mean, it's not that I haven't been in relationships where I felt as though the partner that I was with that I wanted to have a marriage with. It's that in relationships sometimes people have to work on themselves, and so if everybody doesn't feel as though their place is solidified in the world, the relationship is not going to be able to move forward with togetherness because this person is still trying to figure out what it is they need to do for themselves in order to make themselves happy and then move on to try to make the relationship happy. So that's pretty much what I've been running into. Not to say that it's been completely bad situations, it's just that people have to figure themselves out. And it's nothing else that your partner can do until you figure that out for yourself.
Mm. So it's kind of like the getting whole. I talk about getting whole, taking care of yourself, and learning yourself. So you're saying that maybe the relationship that you've been in, that partner may have not hit that point in their life.
Yeah, at this age. I mean, when I was younger, we was dibbling dabbling, doing stuff that we want to do, the selfishness that Chris talked about, not having discipline, because none of us really had a lot of discipline. It really takes time for us to get to a point to have the discipline and be like, okay, in his case, I got to uphold these vows. I got to be the daddy to do this. I got to be the husband to do this. And so it really takes discipline. And so I think that that's been the biggest thing early on. But now that I'm in a place where I mentally feel like I'm ready to take that on because I have the discipline, it's just that your partner has to be ready and accountable too.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I know for a lot of women and then my friends or my clients, we feel like we go through this process of preparation, this process of healing to become that person. Is that something you all feel like men go through too? Or is it just that's a female thing or the process is a little bit different for men? We want to understand y'all. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I can jump in real quick. So I think yeah, it goes both ways. Like it's hard to jump into a long, lifelong commitment like that with all this extra baggage that you might be carrying along with you that you haven't taken the time to unpack yet. And so, you know, things happen, issues come up, and then at that point it is, people find it easier to cut and split, you know what I'm saying, versus trying to work through challenges that do happen or that can happen.
You want to add to that, Rebo?
Could you restate the question
As far
again
as the
for me?
preparation process, do men go through like a preparation process as far as preparing yourself for a relationship? Let's say it's this woman that you're interested in. Is there a preparation process for you to be in that relationship?
I don't think that. I don't want to generalize men under a one blanket, but I mean, just for a
Okay.
general standard, I think that a lot of people, we can prepare for stuff, but we just kind of jump into stuff and hoping that it work out for the best a lot of times. And we just try to find our way along the way with that person because, I mean, let's say in any relationship, you learn in this person what they like, what they dislike, what's in between. And so it's, like I said, you could come in with all the preparation in the world, but everybody is not created the same. And so I think that the preparation all depends on live games that you actually have with this person. So
Mm-mm-mm.
that's my take.
That's good. I agree with you. I feel like you won't know until you get into it. We all have this assumption of how we respond or act in certain situations, but you really don't know who or what part of you is going to show up until you're in it, right?
Facts.
Yeah, and then women is just crazy. So.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Hold it.
The transparency place is turning into the angry place.
We're not crazy. We are emotional. And I think women wear their emotions present. We want to talk about it. And it doesn't always feel like your partner wants to talk about it. Would you consider yourself an effective communicator?
Yeah.
With
Really.
your partner, with your spouse, or is that something you had to grow into?
I mean, it's something I've grown into. Before I just probably wouldn't have said nothing and would have, just went and did whatever I wanted to do. But as far as communicating my emotions, yeah, I've gotten a lot better at that. Yeah.
Teach us the game, Ghost. How did you get better at that? A lot of men don't know how to express themselves and share their emotions. Teach us the game, please.
No, I mean, it's really just being real. Like, what I'm saying, if something, if not that you got to take offense to everything, but like if something is just weighing on you tough, like what sense do it make to let it go, or if it's something that's going to constantly kind of nag at you or something like that. And I'm saying like specifically in being in a marriage with someone. I guess it goes to folks dating too, but just being prepared to express to someone how you truly feel will save you a whole headache, what I'm saying, in the long run, versus trying to play the guessing game or just leaving, what I'm saying, leaving stuff open to interpretation. Sometimes, what's not said speaks a lot louder when things are not, or yeah, maybe I'm probably not saying that right, but you probably
No,
get
that part right there, what's not said speaks louder. So, okay, as a woman, when y'all don't say stuff, we create things in our mind. So, man, if you're listening and you're not communicating effectively with your woman, she's created this whole scenario that probably drove y'all down the drain. I've created a lot of my own problems in my head. They did not exist. And I've actually solved my problems in my head. So I'm just telling my truth. This is my transparent moment. So, Rebo, how are you on the emotions tip in communicating how you feel?
It was definitely a challenge. I always go back to the only child thing. I think with me growing up, I had to always kind of
thank
fend
you,
for
Rod.
myself in a
Sorry.
way. And so, I'm sorry, what was that?
My bad, man. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead, please.
Oh no, it's fine. I didn't know if it was a feedback thing or what, but I don't. It's time for me to get to a place to effective communication as far as looking at somebody else's emotions and how they think in their shoes. Because a lot of times we only look at things from our own vantage point. And so that's not an effective way to communicate when you're just communicating how you feel about things without actually taking in how this person may react to it or how they feel. And so I think when I got to the point where I was self-conscious to know that, like, okay, this is how I feel about it. How would they feel about this? How did they feel about what I did and how I communicated with them? And so once I figured that out, it became a lot easier for me in my relationships with people because I'm not thinking solely about myself. I'm thinking about them.
I like that.
To add to that, one of the things that is worth exploring is learning how you create the conditions for open and honest conversations. And so, folks are, some people struggle with eye contact, and that some folks, that's a sign of like respect and that you're listening intently. But some people just can't, connect to that emotional side and really truly say what they feel. So, I mean, one of the things that, we do sometimes is sometimes you just got to stand back to back, you know what I'm saying, and let each other know that you're there and just let it out. And sometimes, that, I mean, that's something that me and my wife, we do when we need to, or we feel like, something's going to really hurt. That's it's a way to support each other and still, get that out.
Wow, that's a good practice.
Iyanla Van Zant.
Y'all done took PT and did it at home. That's actually a really good practice. That's a really good practice. That's amazing. Actually, I'm like mind blown. And even with Rebo said, considering the other person in the communication in the conversation. But do you think, Rebo, that could also be a roadblock to really getting how you really feel out?
It can be if you overcompensate for another person's feelings and how they react to things. So anything that's too much of anything could be just, like I said, just too much and overbearing. And so in this case, like I said, most people, we only think about ourselves and how we react to things. And once we actually sit down and figure out the person that you're dealing with, it becomes a lot more easier to communicate because, like I said, you're being selfless. You're actually thinking about someone else other than how you feel in that current moment. It can be if you overcompensate for another person.
Somebody got an extra playback coming somewhere. Okay, we fixed it. I don't know what happened. So Chris, how did you know you were ready to be a husband?
Oh man. So my kid is like looking me dead in my eyes. This is like real intimidating right now.
Focus. How did you know
room.
You were ready to be a husband? Let's focus.
Yeah. So we kind of have been dating for, well, when I met her, my wife, we were cool. We were kicking it, just trying to really get to know each other for like close to like a year, I think. And then after we had first met. And so, I was thinking we was just going to kind of be in a relationship, you know what I'm saying? But it really didn't happen like that. And honestly, it was, just really spending time together.
Oh, Chris, spending time together. Come back.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just spending time together, getting to know each other, working through that selfishness, those kinds of things. And then I think when, it was just really time for me, just time to piss or get off the pot, I just knew. Like it was like I wasn't gonna ask her if I didn't feel like she would have said yes.
Okay.
Um, so I don't know how you. It's just a moment of knowing. You know what I mean? It's hard to kind of conceptualize other than that, for me at least.
So men really kind of just know. I've heard that more
In
than once from men.
most cases, I mean, folks done got turned down before. That happens. But hopefully you have that conversation beforehand, and so people just gonna people at the end of the day.
People just don't people.
People just gonna people.
Right, right.
I'm about to add that into my arsenal.
People just go. This is true. People just go people.
Bro.
So, do you think a lot of the way that people is a reflection of their childhood? I know, Rebo, you've mentioned a lot of how you show up is because of your childhood. Do you all think that's showing up a lot in our relationships, or just in who we are, which is pouring over into our relationships? Let's talk about that.
What you got, Rebo?
I
Overcoming
definitely
childhood.
I think that it definitely plays a role. One thing I can say as a disclaimer, I think as adults, especially with us being at the ages that we're at, it just gets to a point where certain things are not an excuse anymore. We have to get to places where we are working on ourselves and our faults at all points in time if we want to get into places where we want to be married or we want to have good working relationships with people, whether they be intimate or platonic. And so I think that for me, I have actively worked through all of the issues that I may have had with my mom. My mom, she's a schizophrenic, so I don't have a real relationship with her. I grew up with my grandmother. My auntie was my guardian as well, but she was in the army. So I didn't have real close relationships with the women in my life, quite honestly. And so, by the time you actually figure these things out in your relationships, you'd be like, man, I could have dealt with this so much differently. But because for a long period of time, I was closed, I didn't really show a lot of emotions. I was really nonchalant about how women felt in a moment that they expressed themselves to me, and I didn't know how to really properly express myself to women because the women that I had in my life, I didn't really express myself to them. So I think that once I really identified that, it made it so much more simpler for me to be proactive in my relationships with women.
So, what does that look like now? You being proactive in these relationships. I'm just curious.
Um, it just comes back down just to the communication barrier that I had with women before. Now I'm willing to sit down at the table and put my pride and ego to the side. Whereas I may not feel like I was wrong in a situation, I'd take time out to dissect myself a lot more in the interactions that I have with women so that I could try to do something progressive moving forward because it doesn't mean anything for me to have my own vantage point and just move forward with that because the relationship's not going to work.
So, this wall that you built because of your childhood, how did you particularly when you once you identified it, how did you overcome it? I guess it's just making the conscious choice, or was there some practice that had to take place?
Oh yeah, I mean, you just can't flip a switch. I think that once you get into relationships with people that you find of more value, and I feel like the older you get, I think for me, kind of the hardcoreness of myself earlier, you get a lot more softer as a male as you get older. And I was just, like I said, I just became a lot more cognizant of women's feelings and how they feel about different things. And so by me not wanting to be in positions where I'm consistently hurting women simply because I just can't communicate with them, it just got to a breaking point for me. And
Okay.
so I just actively start getting into places where I had to get the discipline to keep working on it. So
Kudos to you. I've been in the same place. So I had that wall that I had to overcome. And I had to make the conscious decision. I had to go to counseling to figure out why couldn't I get past this point in relationships. So I completely understand where you're coming from, but to hear it from a male perspective is like, wow. I guess sometimes we don't think y'all have emotions. So to actually hear you express that, thank you for
we
sharing that with us.
do. Yeah, we're just not. See, we're not. It always comes down to how the world raises us, as well as just traditions. We're not raised to be. Oh, you hit your knee. It's like, oh, all right, put a band-aid on that. Go back outside. And so when you have those interactions from your parents and your elders, it's just like we're just, like I said, we're just trained to be that way. And so it really takes a lot more for us to open up to women in particular about our emotions.
To untrain. So we got to untrain. Is it the woman responsibility to pull that out of you?
Oof.
If
Oh,
she believes that you're worth value,
so she has to pull that out of you.
she doesn't have to necessarily like be the single-handed reason why, but if she finds that you're a valuable male, she should be putting something proactive in and say, hey, how can I help him get to this point where he's a little bit more transparent and open with me?
Okay. Now that was a good way to word it. That was a good way to word it. My brother
Yeah.
commented, we are conditioned to show no emotions. So knowing that, being African American men, does that change the way that you'll raise your son? I know I'm going a little left, but I'm just curious now because I think our generation is more aware of this and we're shifting things. So as a father or as that male figure in the community, how are you handling that as a man with younger men?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. I have a son, and then also in the field I'm in, I work with lots of young people, young men included, and honestly, it's just showing them a different way. Um, Showing them a different way. Then when I think about just the personal choice that everybody has at the end of the day, like that's the part that it's probably like the most challenging because you can see that these kids or whatever have all these different kinds of potential, but depending on the choices that they make, it can go a whole different way. And so, as far as just expressing emotion and those kinds of things, I mean, I encourage kids that I come in contact with, my own son, my kids included, nieces, nephews, all of them. You know, talk about these things. We got to put words to our emotions, and we have to develop our little bit of brain science. We got to develop our prefrontal cortex, our decision making center, and really have thoughts before actions about what the possible outcomes are. And so there's some of those things that are really important to just overall development for everyone, but especially for um, when it's almost like this I want it and I want it now kind of impulse. Everything's like right at your fingertips. You got phones, you got all these things, internet. You can look up anything you want to look up right at your fingertips, and that can kind of shift impulses. So it's really something that you got to train and work at. So yeah, Rebo, man, what you think?
I think that we are in a information age where we're trying to break free of the chains of previous generational things that may be considered curses. And so I think that we're kind of in this gray area where we're collectively as a generation trying to kind of figure it out for ourselves. And one thing I can say about my experience, especially with young boys, is that a lot of young boys don't have masculine energy in their lives. You know, they pretty much just have women. And so I know with me teaching little boys and nutrition and things of that nature, they would be really mad and emotional when the older women in the building would speak to them or say things to them, or they responded in a negative way to them that they wouldn't respond to me. When I came into a room and I said something to them or I gave them a directive, they followed it. And so I think that kids need equal energies. And so I think that right now, like I said, we're trying to figure this out collectively, but you're starting from like almost like a ground zero almost after you try to scratch the things that you were taught before. And so, yeah, that's my take on that whole thing. It could get so much bigger than that. It's so much. It's just so much. It's so multifaceted with just dealing with, especially little black boys, so much.
That y'all got me off. Yeah, my mind gone now because we kind of really shifted from where we were going. But it's true. It's deep. I love the way you said equal energy. They need equal energy. Um, and then allowing people to express themselves. A lot of it, I think, no matter what, is communication. A big part of is communication. Like Chris said, being able to put words to your emotions. That's something to this day. I'm 30 years old. I'm a certified life coach. I got a degree in social work, and I struggle still sometimes to put words to my emotions. I can tell you, just give me a minute, let me process, or I got other little things that'll say it, but I get agitated trying to understand what's going on with me and how I feel so that I can share it, not just with my husband, but to people around me who are impacted by my emotions. So I think if it's something that we can practice, and I think the practice is having that conversation, understanding and learning yourself in this, and then how yourself can affect other
Mm-hmm.
people. So considering, like you said before, everything going on around you, how they're going to respond, but truly being authentic with yourself and how I feel in this moment. Like, this is how I feel. This is not comfortable for me. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around y'all. I got to go, and be okay with that. Or saying no, the power of no. A lot of people don't even say no. Or as a parent, allowing your kid to say no to certain things. I think that I get there are boundaries, there are certain things, but you have to listen to a child as well as provide guidance at the same time. And I think a lot of us, maybe as kids, we weren't listened to. We were disregarded. So now we don't feel the need to communicate or have those conversations. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it's a fine line. So like, I'm not friends with kids. We ain't friendly. We ain't buddies. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, we ain't buddies. I'm gonna take care of you. That remind me of that movie Fences. But I'm gonna take care of you. And you know what I'm saying, and love you. Um, but but we're not friends. We're not on the same.
That boundary.
Yeah, it's just those boundaries, and I think sometimes people get it kind of twisted.
Yep.
That relationship dynamic.
Creating healthy boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that no matter your status,
and
single, friend, whatever, there are boundaries. Go ahead, Rebo. I'm sorry.
I know I was gonna say was it kind of goes back to what I said just about um, kids and just equal energy and thing. Well, really more so goes back to the information age thing. Like we're really in a place where we're not our parents and our grandparents, and we're trying to figure out how do we move forward, especially with dealing with kids and raising kids. We're trying to create a place where we want to communicate better with our kids, but a lot of people don't understand having these boundaries. And the reason why kids can be so bad and so disruptive in today's world is because a lot of parents spend so much time, listening to the same music, maybe smoking, drinking, or whatever, or doing a whole bunch of different stuff around their kids that kids shouldn't even be privy to. Like, you have to really set those boundaries. This is adult stuff and this is kid stuff. But I do still want to have an open communication with you. And so a lot of parents don't have that boundary. It's either I'm this figure with the fist and hammer, or I'm your buddy, and it's not a really communication barrier, in between that's really like, hey, let's put these in these compartments in these boxes so that you understand it.
Yeah, man. And let me clarify. Like, I listen to my kids. We have conversation and dialogue about these different things, and it really just comes down to, again, just teaching them these skills that are important to them as they grow and mature and become adults, and being able to make, for the most part, good choices.
Yeah. And being accountable for yourself in this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big on that. I'm like, I understand you made a mistake. I understand it's an accident, but you can only make those so many times, homegirl. Because you go out in the world and it's a mistake or accident, you're still being held accountable. So I'm gonna let you get by this one time, but I'm coming back for you the second time, okay? That's the policy in my house. That's just the way it is. We can talk about it. I get your emotions, but I want you to know that when you get out in the real world and you go left when you were supposed to go right, they coming for you.
Yeah.
So okay, we talked about childhood, and so this brings up a point. The man and woman role. Of course, according to the world, things are changing. Women are becoming up here, men are coming up here. Who's playing what role? What do y'all believe? What's the dynamic? What does it look like? Don't be silent now.
You got that one? You going?
No, you can tag on this first.
God
just needs a little bit of time.
Yeah. I mean, so my parents are 60 years old. They grew up in a different time, and came from, predominant kind of gender roles, I guess, where it just there wasn't a lot of opportunity for women to work outside of the home or these other kinds of, like, domestic kinds of jobs or anything like that. So as we developed as a country, as a society, and women are more a larger part of the workforce.
Liberated.
Yeah, women's rights and all those kinds of things have happened. So, I mean, it's really just expanded lots of the roles that women play in our culture, in our society, more than just caregivers, but leaders, teachers, all those kinds of things. And so, I mean, it's would I say I hope it could be a thing where it's an equal playing field for both genders, but we know that sometimes it's not always the case, which is really unfortunate. But I guess to answer your question, I believe that women should have just as much rights and freedoms as men, right? And do all those kinds of things. So when I look at, like, how I view roles, I guess, in my marriage, if I was to get sick, somebody gonna have to take this trash out, right? somebody gonna have to do something. Otherwise it ain't gonna get done. So I mean, it's really just more of a partnership, and you know, playing on each other's strengths. I like to think I'm a pretty good cook, so I like to cook. I probably do most of the cooking. And that's cool. That's fine. So just really considering what your interests are and how you connect with each other. And then I'm gonna stop right there.
So playing off your partner's strengths. I like that. Being able to play off of each other's strengths. And the fact that you even put it into perspective that someone has to, if one is down, the other got to pick up where the other one is down, right? So this is not no 50-50 love. This that 80-20 short when I need you love.
It's 100 100.
100 100. All right. All right. Energy.
Now, you might not always feel that way, right? Sometimes it might be like a 80-20 or 80-100 or whatever.
I'm about to go upstairs and say, do we got our 100 energy around here? I gotta go check in.
but yeah, that's what it is. Just show up.
So, Rebo, what is your perspective on the male and female role right now in society, in relationships, just in general?
Oh, it's so much to unpack with this, so I'm gonna just try to keep it like as brief as possible. I don't think that there's any really completely outlined roles for men and women, Black men and women at this point in stage in time in the world. With women having more liberation to do all of the things that they want to do, or to have the equality that men have had for a long period of time, I find that those lines get pretty blurred because a lot of us are raised in single parent homes. And so when you don't have that equality of energy and seeing two people do things collectively, I think it's really a skewed view on how you should approach your roles in life. Because I know a lot of women who are really masculine and deal with men in a masculine way. And I know a lot of men that's very feminine response doing certain things, and it really is a key to how they actually grew up. So I don't think there's any real defined roles generally. I think that the only time that you have defined roles is when people are collectively in relationships working at those things together. But just for a general, we're in a place where it's crazy that even in 2021, we still in unprecedented places where women are being the first vice president, women are being the first of this. And it's like, man, just now. And so I think that the roles are not defined because I think that women have gotten to the pinnacle of what liberation truly looks like in our communities in this nation.
I love that. Women have gotten to the pinnacle of what liberation really looks like. Okay, and you said something there. The woman coming off with masculine energy and the man coming off with feminine energy. How do you deal with those people? Like when you're in relationship with them, like yeah. Because I know for a fact that I've been in situations where I'm like, he acting like a female. Like I can't deal with you because you act like a female.
We know the word that's kind of floating around, but we can continue.
Well, I think, man. So I think it's twofold. So sometimes, this is part of that communication piece, right? When like Rebo said, like if it's a woman that I guess is used to being more aggressive or whatever, and then probably being in a relationship with the man that chooses to express his feelings, that's probably off-putting. And at that point, she's like, why are you acting like a little, and all this other kind of stuff. And so I think to an extent that can happen, but I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so for
Yeah,
a man, I'm going to ask you all this. As a man, if you had a woman coming at you that way, is that a turnoff?
yeah,
Um, Personally, I don't have these issues with people that I personally deal with, that I choose to deal with. I don't Women who, like, that always talk about, well, I want submissive women. I want her to be submissive. And it's like, the reason why you're asking this is because you don't possess the qualities that she feels like she needs to submit to you. And I haven't ran into any women who didn't have a feminine kind of submissive thing towards me, because I don't know what it is that I may exemplify to them, but I don't run into these issues because I'm not going to tolerate it, quite honestly. It's just like people get into situations where they like to keep stuff going on and on. And like I said, it always comes back to me being an only child. I have made cuts. I always had to make cuts in my relationships, so people had to figure out what was best for me moving forward. And so for me, it's just certain things I never ever really tolerated, even as a kid. So you know what your worth is, and you know what you're gonna tolerate. And so those are things that people not gonna necessarily try with you because they know that they can't get over on you that way.
So, for a man who has that type of behavior, can you speak to him right now? Can you tell him how to correct that behavior or how to possess those qualities? I know sometimes it's character, but if somebody could do something right now, you can encourage them. What would be your message to them?
You can stand true on how you feel about anything. Um, I need to restate this a different way. You need to be firm in decision making. A lot of guys, there's nothing wrong with allowing women to make decisions and things of that nature. But as a man, you have to stand firm in certain things. If they're not these, I'm sorry, guys. I'm really trying to piece this together because it's really hard to tell other men how they should probably be more masculine or be a certain way that so that women could be submissive towards them. But I don't know. I think that you have to be genuine and you have to be firm. A lot of men are uncertain in decisions that they make and have too much uncertainty with women. You don't have to disregard women or how they feel or anything of that nature, but you do need to stand firm on things that you want and things that you desire and be able to effectively communicate that with a woman.
yeah. Man, that's real.
I love that. And the only reason I ask that is because a lot of men, like we said, they don't have that masculine energy. What you just said right there could just shift somebody's whole life because they're not hearing it. That's why we're having this conversation. They're not having the conversation. Everybody is not surrounded by positive energy. And these type of conversations are a lot of people's first exposure. You'll be shocked about the conversations that I have after this. So I needed to know. Chris, you got a tad bit to encourage somebody.
I don't know if this is an encouragement, but I mean, at the end of the day, as a man, like you just gotta grow a spine, and that speaks to just discipline, um, being a man of your word, and being able to be vulnerable, but still being able to receive correction, still being able to receive help, and those kinds of things too. Um, like with my wife, we we have disagreements, but if we're not making choices, or um, if I can't be able to go to her for counsel, why would why would I be in a relationship with her if I don't really truly value what she says or what she brings to the table? And so, like, really, I mean, you got to make a choice as a man. You got to make a choice at the end of the day, but it's certainly okay to receive counsel and all those kinds of things. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Receiving counsel from your woman, that's a major thing because some people don't value or even consider that, because when you go back to what most people have been taught as the role, the man is the head of the household. He's the decision maker. But reality is behind the scenes, there's conversations happening from the woman, right? Which, yeah, speak to
Definitely.
that for us, because I don't think people realize that part of it. A lot of them are really stuck on, I'm the man and this is going X, Y, and Z. Y'all
Yeah,
silent. Y'all disagree.
no, it was a little bit of a lag, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, you got to figure it out those figure out what that balance is. Um, I was just thinking of a few different kinds of scenarios or conversations I've had with my wife. Like, well, first when like if there's a choice she needs to make, I'm asking like, do you just need me to listen or do you need me to help you think about some solutions? Because I used to get in trouble a lot by just saying, well, you just need to do this or you just need to do that. And that ain't really what she wanted to hear. She just wanted to be heard and for me to listen. And but yeah, just
That's
go ahead, bro.
that. It took me a long time to get to that place of what you just said. Like we could laugh, we laughing about it, man. But I'm a person that I'm always thinking logically and trying to make the best decision that I can make. And sometimes I kind of jump ahead, like, yeah, I have a solution for this problem, but it comes off kind of cold. And so sometimes people don't want to be directed or feel like somebody is demanding something. And sometimes, in the case with women, a lot of times they just really want to be heard. And sometimes it's just on you to actually listen. And then when you get to a place where you think that it's calm, you could give constructive criticism on what it is that you feel that she needs to do to get to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
right.
light bulb moments. That's real, because we do. We just want to be heard sometimes. I just need you to listen to what I'm going through, not tell me how to solve it. Major key, major facts. And a lot of women are in the chat right now, like, kudos to y'all. So I do have a question from one of our listeners. What determines if you're going to pursue a woman? So I guess, Rebo, that would be a great question for you. And then I'll reword it for you, Chris. What determines if you're going to pursue a woman?
Um, it's for me honestly right now. It's really a learning curve, but it comes with more discipline. When I was younger, if a woman was interested in me or whatever the case may be, if I was interested in a woman, I would just go in head first and whatever fall may fall. But by me being at the age that I'm at now, women have kids. Women have been through a lot of different situations with men and have certain baggages that I might not necessarily be prepared for or care to deal with. And so, like, now it's really kind of hard for me to really kind of date in a way because I am more cognizant of how people's lives are going. And so I don't want to put any woman in a compromising position when in fact they want something more out of me that I'm not able to give or I'm not willing to give to them. So the way that I pursue women now is a lot more thoughtful. And so I'm in the learning stages of that because I was in a relationship for a period of time. And so when you're out of a relationship, and especially with me being older, I have to navigate differently, and I haven't quite pieced that together yet.
So when you said they want more than I have to give, would you communicate that to a woman, or is it more it's like a string along game?
And that's the thing, like I'm not in a place where I want to string any woman along. I value how people view me as a man. And so for me, it doesn't benefit me to string women along. I didn't have seen women cry over things that I have done. I've seen this just repetitively. And so for me now, I don't have the heart for it now. And I don't care to see women be heartbroken or be upset over me stringing them along or whatever the case may be. And so, like, it's hard to create a space where I might not necessarily want to date for a relationship. But like I said, with being at the age that I'm at now, I have to be cognizant that women at this age and stage, they want a higher level of commitment. And so I have to be really aware of that.
So my husband put in the chat, you have to communicate that. It speaks to your character. And I know personally that a lot of women are tired of being strung along. And like you said, they're not in the position. It's a heartbreak. It's a heartache. So fellas, if you're listening, just get to the point where you can communicate what you really want. If you don't want to deal with her, if you need the time to process what you really want, communicate that with her. But women, you got to be ready to receive that too. Listen to them. Take people at their word. We talked about earlier the conversation, action sometimes speaks louder. So if you don't say anything, you're just shying away, then yeah, she created that crazy picture that they talked about. They called women crazy earlier. If you weren't listening, my brother was in the chat saying, yeah, that go back to being crazy because we create our own problems in our head. So we need y'all to communicate to us, even if it's what we don't want to hear. And sis, if it's not what you want to hear, that don't mean go cut up. Just receive it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Receive it.
yeah, too. That's real. Like, just hey, just letting you know what it is. If you just want to hook up, just say that, and let them make a choice. You know,
I,
um, if
that
that's
that's
the case, be
What,
real.
Rebo?
that's
Say
a
it.
big key. Big key. It's a big key. You know what? I think that something that unlocked me as a young man is that a lot of men lie about a lot of things that they don't have to lie about, especially with dealing with women. Like women think like how men do in a lot of situations. Allow a woman to make a decision. Women are competitive. Women know a lot of times what they're getting themselves into. So if you're effectively communicating these things with them, it's just like just allow them to make a decision. That's it. Like, at the end of the day, you always want to be cognizant of their feelings, but two, we all are adults. So if you make a decision to deal with this person or continue forward, these are the things that you choose to deal with, but at least allow them to make the decision.
So you're saying allow women to make the decision. So I'm going to tell my sister girls, you got to make the decision for you, sis. A lot of women wait on the men to make the decision for them when they know deep down in reality,
And
this
that
is not for them. And they'll keep, that's how you get
facts.
strung along. I think that's how you get strung along when you don't make the decision. If this is not moving you forward, if this is not what you want, why are you wasting your time there? I think is a lot of questions that, or the question that comes back to us women. If he can't make the decision, you got to make the decision for yourself. And that's the power that's in you, I guess. One of the questions in the chat, and I think we kind of answered it, but I want to go back to it because it looks pretty good. What about when you're between two different women? One has your heart and one who seems to have your best interest, but is applying the pressure that you're not ready for. So I'm thinking they're talking about in maturity of life. What do you all say to that? When you're in between two different women, one has your heart and one who seems to have your best interest, but is applying pressure that you're not ready for.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So that's one of them things where I think people can tell. Like you can tell when somebody just kind of playing, or you know what I'm saying, somebody want to be serious. And I think at that point, like if you just choosing to ignore the signs, uh, that's that's on you. Like you know what I'm saying. If you want, you want to get to this end result. Why should you have to? I guess sacrifice. You know, all these years or months or however long you're willing to sacrifice. I think it's on you at the end of the day.
So yeah, it goes back to what we really just conversated about. If it's not in alignment with what you really want for yourself, then you just sitting there going in circles and wasting time. Take your lessons and run, sis, bro, whoever it is that gotta
Yeah,
run, just go.
yeah.
Just
But
go.
and you know
But no,
what? To that question is it's really. I'm sorry. You go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
no,
to cut
I
you
didn't
off.
say anything. It was a delay. Go ahead, Rebo.
Oh, okay. It's really tough. Because you have women that have intangible things that you may need in a relationship, but they don't have your heart. And it's just like what Chris said. Sometimes when you know, you just know. we know, like, I could be with a chick that make $500,000, have a doctorate, could be pretty, attractive, and all of that stuff, and that could still not have my heart. And so it's really a hard place to be in when you may a person have your heart, and they may not be as accomplished as this woman is, but it's like you have to make a decision sometimes, and it's not going to ever really be a completely easy decision. And I think that a lot of times we tend to go with our hearts when it may not even be the best decision for us, but we make decisions, and so we have to live with the decisions that we make. But that's really tough. That's really a tough question.
But
That
if
should
it's
be
with
asked.
your heart and you're happy, isn't that what matters? Like fulfillment and happiness at the end of it?
It is,
No,
but you know,
no, because happiness, relationships are more than just heart. I I think that relationships are more than just one piece. Like, you could have a person that has your heart that's not accomplished, or doesn't have necessarily all of the goals, doesn't have the drive, and so all of the things that you want from this accomplishment, those are things that you want to see in a woman that you really have a heart for. You know what I mean? That woman that got that drive, and she just may be ahead of you in life. You need that, but like I said, your heart wants what your heart wants, and it's like sometimes you want that person that has your heart to win. In a relationship, sometimes it's just not enough to just have the heart in it. Sometimes you have to have those intangibles that this more accomplished woman or man, in the case, may have.
So, Chris, what were you gonna say to that piece too?
what was I gonna say? What was the question again?
We were talking about, okay, does the heart it's about, does the heart matter? Is it about happiness and fulfillment, or is it about more
Oh yeah, I
when it
mean,
comes to relationships?
people are gonna people, and you know, people marry for lots of different reasons. You know, you see it all the time. People get married and then divorced, 5, 6 months later or a year, and they could have just been marrying some other kind of image or interpretation of what they thought, or people marry for money. All these people marry for crazy reasons. You know, all these other kinds of
Keys, bro.
reasons.
All
Uh,
right. So another question from in the chat. I'm gonna mute Rebo for a minute. I don't know what he got going on. Do you view a relationship slash marriage to be more romantic or a business transaction, or both?
mm. I've heard I've heard marriage be described as both ways. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I never really thought of marriage being like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. um, I think just the way to approach it is just being able to be vulnerable, and be real. I mean, at the end of the day, when hopefully you're able to grow old together, and if you had kids or not, kids are gone. It's just you two. Like that's it's a lot of time to spend with one person, and being able to really have a genuine liking, friendship, um, you know, those kinds of things in a relationship. Uh, I think those will probably matter more in the long run, when you really get down to it. Um, but I've heard marriage being described as a business relationship too, which is, I guess, kind of hard for me to conceptualize, just because I don't use those terms. I guess mostly.
I'm gonna answer this too, but I'm gonna let Rebo answer this one. Go ahead, Rebo. When you got something for this, do you view a relationship slash marriage to be more romantic or business, or both? Did he freeze?
I
He
think that
there.
it has
He
to be
thinking.
both for the continuity of the relationship. Can you hear me?
Yeah, say it again.
Hello? I said for the continuity of the relationship, for it to continue to grow, I think that you need both. Because it doesn't make sense for you to be hyper romantic with someone, but they don't have the necessary tools. Like let's say financial literacy. Like it doesn't make sense for you to be romantic and one person is just doing financially illiterate things that's making your relationship harder for you and your family. So I think that it has to be a equality of those things within that relationship.
I agree.
Good point.
I think that the relationship, the marriage is all of that. And I'm not going to say it's all of that. I think it encompasses all of that. I think your relationship or your marriage is what you make it, though. I think it should be a romantic piece. There is a business piece of it. It's layers to it. But again, it's what you create it to be. This is your partnership with this special person. And it's however or what direction you're going to take it. But in that process, I think these are pieces of it that you need to sustain it. So you need romance. I need that accountability partner. I need that business partner. I know that I need to know that we're going to propel forward. But that may be different for every person, what you need. You might not need romance in your relationship. You might not need a business partner in your relationship. So I think it's really what you make it. It's not necessarily set up to be any ideal way. It's set up to be your unique way. So that's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
perspective on that.
When I think about like this some of those things like you both have laid out, like like I said, I don't use those I guess terms in a business sense, but being able to sit down and go over expenses and finances and all that, and making sure that those kinds of functions are taken care of. I guess I can see that lining up with how you would, you know, um, I guess financials for a business, but uh, there has to be some order to how you plan to govern your relationship, um, whether that's going out for coffee and going over those things on Sunday afternoons and preparing for the week, or deciding those kinds of things. I think that just is a function of hopefully healthy relationships.
Healthy relationships. All right. I don't see any more questions coming through the chat, and we've given y'all some great knowledge for the past hour. I can't hold these men up any longer, y'all. They got families, and Rebo got to go make them candles that I need some more of. I thought my husband would go hit you up for Mother's Day, so this is my plug right here. Husband, go visit Rebo. All right. I want to thank you both for being here with me tonight. Let the people know where they can follow you. If you have any upcoming business ventures, anything you're trying to sell, promote, let them know who you are, where to find you, how to get involved, and what you have going on. We're going to start with you, Chris.
Cool. Man, what is my Instagram? Follow me on Instagram, Lawrence of Flint. I'll just be posting stuff. Um, but check out my podcast as well, on Facebook, the Patriarch Pod. Got a couple of my homeboys that we're fathers. Some of us new, some of us been doing it for a while. Some of us just got a lot of kids. And so Patriarch Pod, we discussing all aspects of fatherhood and uplifting Black fathers.
That is awesome. I didn't know anything about that. I am super excited. When y'all
It's
going?
new.
When y'all do
It's
this? It's
new. It's
new.
new. We got one show up. Check it out. Patriarch Pod, Facebook.
Do y'all have a consistent date that y'all doing this?
It's supposed to be today, so it should be a new episode. I gotta talk to my homie.
Talk to your people. Okay. So the candle man, let him know what's up.
You can find me on Instagram at Purple Rose Experience. Um, and then for my website is purpleroseexp.com. So check me out. You're gonna love my candles. Good packaging, good quality.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
thank
thank you both for being here. You have been amazing, an amazing conversation. and an even greater conversation for me to end this season out on. So this is the first season of Transparency Place, and this is the last episode of the first season. I am going to take a hiatus on having. You said what? You made it? Yeah, you made the first season 1, right? I'm going to take a hiatus because I have to, prepare for these type of things. This is not something that I do or take lightly. I think that the past eight episodes have given you some things to process, digest, and to help you transform. So if you're just catching us today, go back, check out all of the other 7 episodes, learn from them, grow. And I will be back in the coming months with some more challenging topics, conversations, tools, resources, because my hope is that you grow in love, you grow in patience, you grow in fulfillment, and that you be the best you. I want everyone to live their great and best life and just be happy. I'm big on fulfillment and being your authentic self. So to catch up with me or to follow me and see what I have going on while I am on this hiatus, you can follow me at Life Coach Kristian on Instagram, and you can like me on Facebook as Life Coach Kristian. Other than that, you all have a great night. Be great. Stay safe. And I will catch you on the next round of Transparency Place. I love you all.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I got to remember how to press something. Rodney, where you at? Oh, never mind. I got it.
Hi guys, I'm Kalia.
I'm Salita.
And we want to welcome you to our new podcast called Sisters Talking Ish on the Real Ish Radio Network.
So download the app at realishradiolapp.com. And you can also watch us on Facebook and YouTube and listen to the audio on all streaming platforms. Hope you guys check us out soon.